Hey everybody, Qroo here. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Spanish mega-verb poner, which means to put, but it actually means so many more things, and that's why I'm dedicating a video to it. Now this video is geared to those folks who are beginners all the way through probably low intermediate. I'm going to talk about subjunctive and things like that, which are definitely intermediate topics. So if you're anywhere in there, you'll probably get something out of this video. All right, let's go ahead and start with the most common definition for poner, and that is just to say to put something somewhere. Now I definitely use this most in the preterit. That's the past tense that we use when something's seen as clearly being done at that point in the past. You know, we have the preterit and the imperfect. The imperfect is for things that are in progress in the past, usually when something happens, and that's when the preterit pops in. But the preterit is seen as being completed. What does that mean? Well, I speak both English and Spanish in my home with my wife. She's originally from Colombia, and she's always moving my things around. So I use the verb poner a lot, but I'll be asking, where did she put something? Dónde pusiste? Where did you put, and then you can fill anything in. Dónde pusiste las llaves? Where did you put the keys? Dónde pusiste mis zapatos? Where did you put my shoes? Dónde pusiste los documentos que estaban sobre la mesa? Where did you put the documents that were on top of the table? Now you want to be able to answer that, right? But you're going to have to change the verb conjugation. So let's go ahead and look at poner in the preterit because it is irregular. Here it is on the screen. Now anytime we show verb conjugations, we're going to show them in this order. So there's no reason to say like, yo puse, tú pusiste. No. Just learn conjugation, especially when they're irregular, just in this order. That's how I learned them. I think that's the easiest way. So it's just like puse, pusiste, puso, pusimos, pusieron. And then you say it again. Puse, pusiste, puso, pusimos, pusieron. As many times as you need to, just practice that during the day. Now, I did not mention vosotros. It is on the screen. You can see it there. The reason I didn't is because I speak Latin American Spanish. Vosotros is not a form used in Latin America. Now you will hear vos. And some people think that they're the same. So anytime I'm like, hey, vosotros is not used there. Oh, yes it is, I've heard vos. That's a whole nother video I'll talk about. So it's just not something we use, but I have started including that particular tense in my later videos because about 12% of my audience is studying European Spanish. So you will see it on the screen. And while we're on the topic, anytime there's a fundamental difference between, say, Latin American Spanish and Spain Spanish, European Spanish, whatever you want to call it, I will point those out in my videos. So it doesn't matter which one you're studying, you should be able to get something out of my videos. So those are our conjugations we're going to play with. So you see right there we have pusiste, so that's our whole sentence. Dónde pusiste? Where did you put? Dónde pusiste las flores? Where did you put the flowers? And if you want to say, I put the flowers in the kitchen, what would that look like? Puse las flores en la cocina. Puse las flores en la cocina. It's just about choosing the correct conjugation and plugging it in. Now, how come we didn't say, yo puse las flores en la cocina? We could have. But that verb conjugation makes it very clear that I'm talking about I. Now, unless I want to emphasize I can drop that subject because it's clear from the verb. In Spanish, whenever it's clear from the verb conjugation or from context who the subject is, it's common to drop the subject. You can include them or not include them. So there we have it. I put the flowers in the kitchen. Puse las flores en la cocina. What if I want to say I put them in the kitchen? Can you do that? Las puse en la cocina. Las puse en la cocina. So what do we have going on there? Let's look at our first sentence. Puse las flores en la cocina. I put the flowers in the kitchen. Second one. Las puse en la cocina. I put them in the kitchen. So in the first one, las is a definite article. It means the. And in the next one, it's actually a direct object pronoun that means them. It's referring to the flowers. If you don't know direct and indirect object pronouns, I have several videos dedicated to the topic here on the main site. I also have a private learning group, the Qroo Spanish Crew, where I have exclusive content, courses, a lot more interaction with the members. I'll put a link to that in the description section of this one. If you really want some extra help, you might want to pop over, to the Qroo Spanish Crew. But wherever you go, you're going to find a ton on direct and indirect object pronouns. So that's what that is. You see how I'm going to hit all different levels in this video? That's how it works. You want to try one? How about this? Where did you put the plates? Los platos. Where did you put the plates? ¿Dónde pusiste los platos? I put the plates on the table. Puse los platos en la mesa. Or you might have had sobre la mesa. When you're talking about something like a table or a surface that you generally put things on, you will often just see it with en or sobre, either one. There's no real change. What if you want to say, I put them on the table? Los puse en la mesa or los puse sobre la mesa. Did you get that? That's our direct object pronoun. Where do direct object pronouns go, if you're familiar with them? They can go before the conjugated verb, as you see here. They can be attached to an infinitive, that's an unconjugated verb, which we do not have here. They can be attached to a Spanish gerund, that's the ones ending in ando or yendo. We do not have one of those here. So the only place we can put it is before our conjugated verb. So after the preterite tense, the next tense/mood that I use poner, for meaning to put in, is definitely the command form, also known as the imperative. And that's when, usually my wife is using this to me, she's like, don't put your clothes on the floor, don't put that, in the garage, or go put that in the garage, things like that. We're going to start with how to conjugate into the imperative, and I'm going to keep it really simple. We're just going to be talking to individuals. When we're saying you, in Spanish, we have an informal you, which is the tú form, so we're going to learn that one. And then we have the formal, which is usted. And there are command forms for talking to groups, but I can tell you that how often does that come up that you're ordering groups of people to do things at a time? Now, as a law enforcement officer, I would do that, but most of the time, even if you have a group of people, you're talking to individuals about, oh, don't put that there. Hey, put that in the garage. So let's just stick to those forms. Keep it simple. We're going to start with the informal, the tú form. It's going to conjugate differently if we're giving an affirmative command or a negative command. I know, we're just complicating things, huh? If we're giving an affirmative command, it is pon, just 3 letters, pretty easy. For example, put the keys on the table. Pon las llaves en la mesa, or sobre la mesa. If it is a negative command, it's going to change to no pongas, no pongas. Don't put the keys on the table. No pongas las llaves en la mesa. Now let's go to usted, the formal you, when you're speaking to someone, in a more formal fashion. I don't know why you're commanding them to do anything anyway. I mean, you gotta be careful with that. But just in case you feel the need to do it, this one's gonna be much easier because the word is the same, whether it's affirmative or negative. It is ponga, ponga. The affirmative would be put the keys on the table, ponga las llaves en la mesa. Don't put the keys on the table. No ponga las llaves en la mesa, or sobre la mesa. Now, some of you folks who are familiar with the subjunctive, and if you're not familiar with the subjunctive, think of it this way. It's just a different set of conjugations that are triggered by certain grammatical constructions. That's a simple way. If you are familiar with the subjunctive, you may have looked at these words, ponga and pongas, and thought, that's a subjunctive. Why is the subjunctive being triggered here? Well, just to be clear, this is not the subjunctive. This is the imperative. Those are all moods. We have an indicative, an imperative, and a subjunctive. Those are moods. This is a different mood. But it does conjugate the same way as the subjunctive. That's the confusion. Why? I don't know why. It just does. You want to try some of these on your own? How about this one? Put the clothes on the bed. Pon la ropa en la cama. Or you could say sobre la cama, but we'll keep it easy. En la cama. Pretty easy. Don't put the clothes on the floor. No pongas la ropa en el suelo. Now with those I was doing the tú form, I didn't specify. Now I'm going to circle back to the subjunctive. Remember I mentioned how the command form is not the subjunctive? It's not. But let's talk about the subjunctive, because after the preterite and after the command form, the next mood that I use this in the most is in the subjunctive. And this is why. It's because I'm often asking my wife if she wants me to do something. And if she wants me to do something that involves, like, say, putting the suitcases in the car or putting the hamburgers on the grill, and I'm asking, That's going to be a subjunctive trigger. The easiest way to learn the subjunctive is to learn what triggers it. You're basically breaking down the Spanish language to small formulas that, as an English speaker, you can remember, plug things into, and come up with sentences that you may never have seen or heard before in your entire life, but they're grammatically correct sentences. And then people will listen to you and go, wow, how did you develop an ear for the language? How did you use the subjunctive there? How did you know? I just logically knew, you know. I never said that sentence before, just knew. Anyway, here's our subjunctive trigger we're going to be using here today, and I'm going to go ahead and conjugate it out because I'm asking someone in the informal, normally my wife, could be anybody, do you want that I do something? ¿Quieres que plus subjunctive? The plus subjunctive means whatever verb appears there, I'm going to be conjugating into the subjunctive. So let's just look at the subjunctive, all right? Ponga, pongas, ponga, pongamos, pongan. But I'm talking about what I'm going to do, so we're going to make it even easier. It's just, ¿quieres que ponga? ¿Quieres que ponga? Do you want that I put whatever? Do you want me to put the suitcases in the car? ¿Quieres que ponga las maletas en el carro or el coche? In English, we're saying, I want you to do something, you know. But in Spanish, we're saying, I want that you do something, and we're also conjugating out that verb. That's why breaking this down to a formula keeps it simple. And if you've never played with the subjunctive before, just play with this one, this construction, ¿quieres que ponga? And then just talk about all kinds of different things. Do you want me to put the hamburgers on the grill? ¿Quieres que ponga las hamburguesas en la parrilla? Or you might have said el asadero. And the actual nouns for things will kind of change sometimes, you know, based on region or country. The most important thing is that beginning is not. ¿Quieres que ponga? Do you want me to put the keys on the table? ¿Quieres que ponga las llaves en la mesa or sobre la mesa? So during the day, look for different ways that you can actually start to work this into your Spanish. For example, do you want me to put the car in the garage? ¿Quieres que ponga el carro en el garaje or el coche en el garaje? And then you can give yourself an order. Put the car in the garage. Pon el carro en el garaje. Don't put the car in the garage. No pongas el carro en el garaje. Whatever you want to say. Just use the expression. All right, let's go ahead and move on using poner. And I'm going to address something that inevitably you're going to see, and it confuses students. And that is seeing poner with the indirect object pronoun le. For example, you're cooking for friends, they come over, you've made this fabulous dish, and your friend looks at you and they're like, está delicioso, it's delicious. ¿Qué le pusiste? ¿Qué le pusiste? And you're like, le? Why is there a le there? This is going to happen. You're going to see this, and you're going to ask yourself why that le is there, so we're going to talk about it like right now. So what we're literally saying here is, what did you put to it? Okay, that's what the le part is. And if we made it in a complete sentence, it would be, ¿Qué le pusiste al plato? Like, what did you put to the dish, right? That's what the a is. The a and the l get together, and it's al. If it was a drink, ¿Qué le pusiste a la bebida? What did you put to the drink? And again, like I'm saying, this is very common with food and drinks. You will see it here and there with other things. Translate this. What did you put in the soup? ¿Qué le pusiste a la sopa? Really? Because in English we're saying, what did you put in the soup? But we're still in Spanish saying, what did you put to the soup? ¿Qué le pusiste a la sopa? And if we're going to use our command form, because we were using our command form, try this one. Don't put more salt in the soup. Don't put more salt in the soup. No le pongas más sal a la sopa. No le pongas más sal a la sopa. But if I want to say put more salt in it, what do I say? Ponle más sal. Ponle más sal. You might be like, okay, Paul, why is le attached to pon? I didn't address this before because I didn't get into direct and indirect object pronouns and how they work with commands, meaning the imperative. This is how it works. When it's an affirmative command, if you have an indirect or direct object pronoun, it's going to be attached to the affirmative command. So it's ponle más sal, ponle más sal. And if it's a negative command, it's going to appear before the conjugative verb. No le pongas más sal, no le pongas más sal. See how we're just learning all kinds of things in this video? Man. All right, the next usage for poner is a construction poner plus adjective. And it's going to be a way to say that something like makes you sad, or made you happy, or made you frustrated. What we're literally saying in Spanish is that something puts you sad, puts you happy, puts you frustrated. The news of her death made me sad, but we're going to be really saying the news of her death put me sad. La noticia de su muerte me puso triste. La noticia de su muerte me puso triste. And why is it puso? We talked about that, right? Because that's our preterit, right? That's the first tense we talked about. Remember that? Puse, pusiste, puso, pusimos, pusieron. And you folks studying European Spanish stuck vosotros in there, that form. Remember that? Should sound familiar. Now, since we're talking about tenses, let's go ahead and look at poner in the present tense, because this is an irregular verb, at least in the first person. Here they are. Pongo. That's really the only one that's irregular there. Otherwise, it's going to pretty much follow the pattern. Pongo, pones, pone, ponemos, ponen. And vosotros is in there as well. So what are you going to do today when you're learning these? You're going to learn them in the preterit. You're going to be bouncing around going puse, pusiste, puso, pusimos, pusieron. And you're going to learn it in the present. Pongo, pones, pone, ponemos, ponen. All day long. People are going to walk by and just think you're nuts, but you're going to be learning Spanish. So, now that we've seen the present tense, we will be able to translate sentences like, lies make me furious. Las mentiras me ponen furioso. Las mentiras me ponen furioso. So, take a look at that sentence. A couple things I want to point out since we're talking about so many different things today. Right away, we have las mentiras. So, we're literally saying, the lies put me furious. The lies. That's a use of a definite article, the part, las, that we don't use in English that way. When we're talking about something as a group, right, we don't tend to use a definite article. Lies make me furious. We're talking about all lies, lies. Well, in Spanish, the definite article is used for that. Las mentiras me ponen furioso. Same thing, a good example I often use is like with religion. Catholicism is a religion. Well, in Spanish, you would say, the Catholicism is a religion. El catolicismo es una religión. So take a look at that again. The subject of that sentence is the lies, las mentiras. So the subject is controlling the verb. That's why it's ponen, because it has to agree, right? Las mentiras are plural, so we have ponen. And it's affecting me. Las mentiras me ponen furioso. And furioso, furious, is describing me. So if I was a female, that would be furiosa. Your jokes make me uncomfortable, but literally your jokes put me uncomfortable. Tus bromas me ponen incómodo. Tus bromas me ponen incómodo. And it's incómodo, uncomfortable because I'm a male. If it's a female, incómoda. So let's go ahead and up the difficulty just a little bit, and we're going to be looking at the pronominal form of poner, and that is ponerse. And when I say pronominal, I'm talking about verbs in the infinitive that have se on them when they look like this. We use reflexive pronouns with them. That's what we have here. We're going to be using ponerse plus adjective, and that is to become something. This is going to be similar to what we just talked about, but the difference is that with ponerse, I'm the subject. With poner, whatever was making me sad, happy, depressed, that's the subject. It's putting me that way. I became happy when I saw you. Me puse feliz al verte. Me puse feliz al verte. So, me puse feliz, right? I became happy. It's like saying I put myself happy. But when I say it that way, it makes it sound like I'm doing it intentionally, which I'm not. It's just, I become happy al verte, upon seeing you. We got nervous during the exam, right? Nos pusimos nerviosos. Ponerse, right? We got nervous. Look at those verb conjugations. Nos pusimos nerviosos en el examen. All right, let's talk about ponerse to mean to put on clothes. And this is the verb you're going to use. Since we're already kind of playing with that pronominal form anyway, this should be easy, right? She put on a red dress. Ella se puso un vestido rojo. It's pretty straightforward. Now, let's play with this a little bit with the command forms, all right? If you're telling somebody, don't put on that shirt, it's dirty. Now, we talked a little bit about when you had direct and indirect object pronouns, if it was affirmative, remember it's being popped on there, it's attached. And when it's not, it goes in front. It's going to work the same way with reflexive pronouns. So don't put that shirt on, it's dirty. No te pongas esa camisa, está sucia. No te pongas esa camisa, está sucia. Don't put on that shirt, it's dirty. Put on the white shirt. When it's an affirmative command, it's attached, right? Ponte la camisa blanca. Put on the red shirt, try that. Ponte la camisa roja, right? It has to agree in number and gender. La camisa roja. Don't put on the red shirt, try that. No te pongas la camisa roja. No te pongas la camisa roja. And if you want to add a reason, because it's dirty. Porque está sucia. Porque está sucia. So as you can see, poner is a pretty useful verb, right? But we're not even close to being done. There's a lot of expressions that use poner, and there's so many that if I just give you a long list of them, you're just going to get noise. Because I really believe if I give somebody too much information, it's just as bad as giving them too little. And I'm already probably pretty close, all right? Because we've touched on so many different things. But I'm going to give you just a few, just to add to your word list. And here's the first one on the list is poner a prueba. Poner a prueba is to put to the test. Vamos a poner a prueba tu español. We're going to put your Spanish to the test. Next one is poner la mesa, is to set the table. Los niños siempre ayudan a poner la mesa antes de cenar. The kids always help to set the table before dinner. Now, you know command forms, so you can tell somebody, set the table. How would you do it? Pon la mesa. Don't set the table. No pongas la mesa, right? And if you want to ask your significant other, do you want me to set the table? ¿Quieres que ponga la mesa? ¿Quieres que ponga la mesa? See how we're going to be practicing this? Next one on our list is poner en marcha, is to set in motion, to start up. Finalmente, vamos a poner en marcha nuestro nuevo proyecto. Finally, we're going to set in motion our new project. And the very last one is going to be poner huevos, and that means to lay eggs. I'm putting that in there because it's one of those things that you may, especially if you see a farm or something and you want to talk about chickens laying eggs, you may wonder, how do you say to lay eggs? To put eggs. La gallina puso 2 huevos esta mañana. The hen laid 2 eggs this morning. See, it's puso. Right there we have the preterit because we've been talking about the preterit. Wow. Well, that's the end of the video. I definitely packed a lot into this one. We touched on so many different things, direct and indirect object pronouns, pronominal verbs, the imperative, the preterit, a little bit on the present tense. We didn't play too much with that, right? We even threw the subjunctive in there. The whole point of this video is to show you kind of how these things work. If you feel you have a weakness, say in the subjunctive or something like that, take a look at what I've got on the main site. If it's the subjunctive, I have subjunctive triggers playlist. Under playlist, just binge watch that, get very familiar with the subjunctive. If it's direct or indirect object pronouns, I've got stuff on that. And if you want extra help, don't forget we're over in the Qroo Spanish Crew, so you might want to check that out. Well, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching the video, and until next time, hasta luego.